Everybody loves a Bigsby until it's time to change the strings. Well, there's a product out there that can help you with that, and it'll take away all of your Bigsby blues. We're going to show you what that product is and show you how to put it on your guitar today, right here on GearGasms. Hi everybody, welcome to GearGasms. I'm your host Alan Barnes. Today we're going to show you a product made especially for the Bigsby that's going to take your Bigsby string change blues away. What's the name of that product? It's a company called Vibramate, and they make a thing called the String Spoiler. It's basically something that goes on the bridge, it wraps underneath the round bar, and it hooks on the little spikes at the end that you normally put your string balls on. No tools are required. It's not a permanent installation. The string tension actually holds it in place. It was super easy to install. Everybody loves the sound of a Bigsby bridge, that springy 50s kind of goodness. You get a guitar like this and right away you're rocking some Stray Cats. You're just playing those chords and just they're so beautiful to hear with that springy, lovely vibrato. They tend to stay in tune fairly well for a non-locking tremolo, but when it comes to time to change the strings, oh my goodness gracious, talk about cussing. The problem is, and you can't see it, but if you have one, you know, these little spikes at the end of the turn bar here, you have to put the ball end of the string in there, wrap it around this pole, pull it up here, somehow hold tension so it doesn't come off that spike, get this thing threaded, and try to turn it, and what's going to happen about 10 or 15 times, it's going to pop off of that little stem, it's going to fling up, depending on how much tension you already have on there, it's going to scratch your guitar, you're going to cuss a blue streak, and generally to do these string changes you either need 3 hands or you need a friend who will hold it at the end. But this is just a perfectly streamlined solution. We'll get right into showing you how to put it on, and then we'll play it a little bit after we're done, just so you know that it doesn't wreck your tone in any way. If anything, it actually increases the sustain a little bit. You don't get that harsh wrap around that pole of the string, because down there at the ball end you have all those twisty winds. They don't bend real well, they tend to sort of crimp. And when you pull it around a round surface like that, a lot of times the string is just in and of itself unstable and can throw a lot of tuning problems your way. They're sort of creaky too when you first put them in. Until you soften that thing up, you can actually hear that coming through the pickups. But this thing is just wonderful. They're available online. It's a wide range of prices. I'm not really sure why. I've seen them as low as like $40 and as high as $65. I think I paid somewhere in the middle for this thing. And of course, it's stainless steel, but it's finished to look like the gold bridge. You can also get them in sort of a chrome finish and different finishes to match your exact Bigsby. You can't even really tell it's there when you're looking at the guitar. You don't immediately look like it's been some sort of monstrously modified sort of thing that's just jammed on it. It's very, very subtle, and it blends aesthetically in with the Bigsby as well as functionally. Okay, of course, this thing says it needs no tools, and it doesn't. So don't be afraid of the tools and this stuff laying around, because when I do string changes, I use tools. But to install this little guy right here, no tools necessary. I don't have one of those fancy tables with something to support the neck like real guitar work on kind of people do, because I generally don't work on my guitars much. But this seemed like something kind of easy. Figured I could do it. This is of course the Gretsch 5420T. You can see the nature of the problem. Bigsby's have those lovely pins underneath the roller bar, and then wrap the string around the round bar and across over down here to the end of the headstock, and somehow maintain tension on the whole thing. We're going to jump right in here with this setup and get this ball rolling. I'm doing my own camera work. Never really done a bench video before. Might not be able to get all the tight shots that you want. Here, I'm gonna install it. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the old strings. This handy little guy right here is just your regular, buy it at Walmart, Black & Decker. But it has a nice little adapter that I got years and years ago that fits in the end. Kind of like those string winders they have, except this costs like $2. They don't make it anymore, so don't ask. Now this is the absolute first string change on this thing. I was so intimidated by all the horror stories I'd heard about these Bigsbys and how much of a damn pain in the ass they are. Look how easy those strings come off. I barely even touched them. And now that they don't have tension, they are out of here quick. This is the area we're going to be working in. And see this guy here? It's supposedly super simple. Instructions are so easily, they're just basically printed on a picture. So it's like this. Bada bing. So of course, it's going to be floppy till you get that first string in there. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. We do all kinds of gear reviews, demos, some how-to stuff, some half-baked comedy, all mixed in with a large, large teaspoon of stupidity. It's t-shirt shout-out time. It's the hottest band in the world. It's BeatlesKiss. You put those two things together, and it's just amazing. Imagine, if you will, if we could combine the songs of Kiss and the Beatles. You'd have chestnuts like Happiness is a Warm Love Gun, Please Please Me in the Ladies' Room. You'd get the alpha all the way to the omega, from I Want to Hold Your Hand to Let's Put the X in Sex. GearGasms number of the week is 2. Did you know there were 2 different bass players in the Beatles? You didn't know that? If you add 1 to 2, you get 3. And what is 3? 3 is the number of bass players currently in Kiss. We've learned the trick. The trick is press the Bigsby down until you can get this guy on the pins. There's some pins underneath it so you can get them to line up. On this particular kind of Bigsby, it doesn't have the 2 poles, it just has the single pivot, so it's actually even a little bit easier. But looky here, you got to hold your hand underneath it, because if I pull my finger out, it'll fall. But you basically just take the slotted, with the wide slots, you grab them, they hold 4 of the pins of the 6, and it sort of holds there. Then you grab your first stringy string. It's going to fall a little bit, which seems like a pain in the ass, but not nearly as much of a pain in the ass as it would be to try and keep a ball on that stick, because you see what I did there? I put the first string in that slot, and then I just hold a little bit of tension. Doesn't really matter which one you start with. I wanted to start with the 6th string, but I grabbed the wrong string. Give it a spin, see what happens. Got 1 string in there, and just that 1 string is holding the whole thing in place. And that's just the first time you do it. Here's my pro tip from me to you kids. Even never having done this, next time I change the strings, I'm going to do a couple at a time. That way the thing doesn't fall loose. And I do that on Floyd's too, just sort of maintain tension. But as you can see, it's the tension of the string that holds this little feller in place. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey Alan, is it going to affect the tone? Am I going to lose my tone, man? My magic tone? 2 things. First of all, your tone is not magic, and neither is mine. So you probably will not lose the tone. See that? Inspecting the bridge, it does feel like it wanted to come off of those little divots there. Gosh, I wish I had a better close-up camera so you could see it. Let's see, I got 2 of them in there. Easy peasy. Now, unlike so many other YouTubers, I would just put the next 4 strings on, and I would do it real speeded up and make you watch that garbage. Even sped up, that's some serious bullshit. Nobody wants to look at that. So I'm gonna kill this camera. I'm gonna finish the job. I'll let you have a close-up look at the bridge once it's installed. It was super easy. But then we'll plug this thing in, tune it up, and see if I have lost any of my glorious tone. See, once it's in, not too shabby there. It just sort of sits there behind the bridge. Strings rest really easily through it. I'm in the process now of stretching the strings just a little bit. We're going to work this Bigsby a little bit, get them stretched in, tune this thing up. Then I'll plug it in and play for you just to show that it's not going to kill any part of your Bigsby mojo. Now that we're all done, you can see that wasn't hard at all. You've still got your guitar, you still got the Bigsby intact. It feels and plays exactly like it did before you touched it. I would have done it before and after, but for two things, my strings needed changing anyway, and I wasn't going to change the strings the old-fashioned way so I could give you fresh strings versus fresh strings. And even though you wouldn't have been able to hear a difference, I know half of you would have come in here and said, "Oh dude, it totally wrecked the tone. I can hear the difference. I wouldn't put one of those on my Bigsby." Come on. You can hear when you're playing it, it doesn't even affect the tone. Well, what did we learn today? We learned that this is a really, really cool device to put on your Bigsby. Doesn't really cost a whole lot. It's super easy to put on. Doesn't affect the tone. Cuts your cussing down during string changes by at least 75%. We also learned that kind of like a Floyd Rose or really any tremolo system, when you're doing string changes, you don't want to take the tension completely off of that system. I usually do 2 strings at a time, but it really, really helps keep things in place. So the next time I change the strings on this, I'll definitely use that method, and this guy will stay in place forever and ever, amen. We also learned that unlike chocolate and peanut butter, when you mix Kiss and the Beatles, you take 2 great things and you make one really disturbingly bad thing. As always, I thank you for your time. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Ring that bell for notifications and all that other YouTube garbage I'm supposed to say at the end of every one of my damn videos. But whatever you do in the next 7 days, keep it a secret. Don't tell a soul. But come back here again every week, week after week, for GearGasms.